Do you want simple steps to level up your mind, body, and spirit, or encouragement as you navigate the challenges of motherhood? Or maybe you need a dose of hope to achieve that goal? Then you've tuned in to the right podcast. This is Keep Blooming, and I'm your host, Liz Montigny. Each week, I'll encourage you to drop the hustle mentality for hope and act on the dreams God has put on your heart. I'm a licensed Ziegler life coach. I've created a theater ministry, and like you, I'm doing all the things as a Catholic, a wife, and a mom to 3 boys. So let's get growing and keep blooming. Welcome to episode 29 of Keep Blooming. I'm your host, Liz Montigny. Today we are going to talk about setting time aside for you. And I don't just mean bubble baths. Those things are nice. I'm talking more about taking time for self-reflection and gratitude. And it's all stuff that I've talked with you about before, but I thought coming off of last week's episode on reclaiming your time, this would be a good opportunity to take a closer look into how we can make time for ourselves, to consider God's gifts to us, as well as how far we have come in our own work or in our relationships, and just some simple ways to go about that. But first, as you know, if you've been listening, I like to start and end our conversations with truth and with a little Lectio Divina, so that I'm going to use Matthew chapter 7 today, verses 7 through 11. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be opened. Which one of you would hand his son a stone when he asks for a loaf of bread, or a snake when he asks for a fish? If you then, who are wicked, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father give good things to those who ask him? Oh, well, of course, that final verse is so beautiful. If you are making time to put God first, he always hears you. I mean, he hears you no matter what. But putting God first, you will more readily see those good things, because you are in relationship with him, and you're recognizing the gifts that he is giving to you and to others in your life. And I also love that the first part of that first line, seek and you will find, and knock and the door will be open to you. And I think this is part of what I'm going to talk with you about today, in terms of, taking a look back at your week and how did that go, and a monthly check-in with yourself, and building up this gratitude practice. So I think, taking this time, booking time on your own calendar for yourself, if you want to call it white space, if you want to just actually write in, hey, you're not doing anything that requires, a client or, somebody else's need. This is time for you. Whether it's time for you to build your relationship with God, or to just look back and give yourself a little of assessment on how far you've come with your goals or any project that you've worked on. I think we can all agree that there's so much noise in the world, and that's a really good tactic of the enemy. If you're constantly being filled up with information, not only what you're listening to, but what you're seeing, you can't hear God's voice because you're too busy listening to the world. And friendly reminder, we're in this world, we're not of it, and our ultimate home is heaven. So if you're going about your daily life and not making time for God, or he's last on the list, that's where I would really challenge you to reconsider and reconfigure that day for yourself. But yeah, so, we're bombarded with this info constantly. And especially for those of you who are listening who may have your own business, you're an entrepreneur like me, there's always a bright, new, shiny object, a lot of people talk about the secret sauce. Is this the secret sauce to success? So we keep looking and looking and looking, when really the only true secret sauce to success is building that time with Jesus. And to do that, you've got to slow down and you've got to schedule all that silence in and start building up this practice of gratitude and self-reflection. And, when I started my practice as a coach, I got caught up in consuming and consuming and consuming. And instead of implementing and taking action on what I was learning, if you're longing for peace of mind and clarity with just your everyday choices and the big things too, I would highly recommend committing to creating a habit of building some silent time into your schedule so that you can just take time to think. And then you'll be able to discern the next right step for you, which is always like that tough thing for many people. Like, they're at a crossroads. What do I do next? And especially if you've tried everything else, this would be a good place to start. Now, I know this is pretty countercultural in our fast-paced society. You may be wondering, how can I even? Well, like I said, go listen to episode 28. I have some tips for you there. But don't let the world set the for you, okay? In telling you the right way to run your business, your career, or your family, okay? The only person you really need to listen to is Jesus and what he's prompting you to do. So, how can you so you can hear his voice and where he's asking you to go? And I'm going to let you know what's been working for me. And this first one is definitely something I encourage all my students to, especially when I'm working privately. I coach my clients to use something called a victory list. You could even call it a weekly examine. Okay. And, just at the end of the week, and I tend to do this on a Friday or a Sunday. It doesn't take long at all, but just to sit down for a few minutes with a pen and paper and just take some silence and then try answering these 3 questions for yourself. Number 1, what have I accomplished this week? And this can be big or small, okay? All the small steps add up over time. So don't dismiss the little things, okay? And when you start to take a quick inventory, you can actually see your progress. Because I think sometimes when we're in the struggle or in the challenges, or, we're really feeling like, oh, just got to get through this next week, you don't realize how far you've come. So really take that inventory. Number 2, I would ask yourself, what have I learned this week? And that is just another way to reframe, was there a challenge or a failure, in the past week? And what can I learn from that? Because whether, nobody feels like they want to be a failure, right? But a failure is not a person. It's not you. It's just something that happens. So what is the fruit that came from that? What did you learn? And focus on the learning piece, okay? Number 3, what could I do differently next week? right? So take some time to ponder the fruits of maybe the failure or the fruits of the accomplishments. And what did you learn about yourself or others? How can you better equip yourself for challenges in the future? And is there kind of like this overall theme? Like, where is God calling you to go next? Maybe He's telling you to wait. I'm in a big season of waiting right now. So, and that is very opposite of me. So that can be hard too, right? Maybe you're in a season of waiting. Maybe it's clear that, you thought something was going to go a certain way, but it's definitely going another way and you have to take the fork in the road. That's okay. But that's why I think it's important to go back and look and see what's going on and just examine your progress so you can see those themes that may come up, or is there always something that's coming up that turns into a problem that you really need to address, right? So, you're not dismissing any of these daily crosses. You can just use them to go deeper spiritually, grow up mentally, and even strengthen physically. All right. Another way you can create this time for yourself is monthly. Have a monthly check-in with yourself. And I would make this a little bit of a longer chunk of time. That kind of victory list, weekly examine, that doesn't take much time at all. Maybe 15 minutes tops, but probably less. But this monthly check-in is really about a few hours to take yourself out of your normal routine, whatever is familiar, okay? For me, I love getting out of my house because I work from home and I homeschool. So if I can take myself out of my house, that feels really good to me. And I like to try a new cafe or just explore like a little part of town that I haven't really seen before. And this is really great to do as well if you're feeling overloaded with worries, or, maybe you have some decisions that just feel really pressing. Um, you know, I just make the choice to take action by doing something else. Oftentimes if you can just do something else, especially something physical that doesn't have anything to do with what may be weighing on you, that can really help to clear your thoughts. And, when you come back to it, oh, well, all of a sudden the answer is very clear. I actually was just talking to a client today and we were talking about gardening and how that is a great way, you don't think about anything. You're just thinking about what you're doing, like the chore, and you're outside and you're moving your body, right? So oftentimes, when you do those types of things and then you come back to the problem, it's much more clear, right? So, for myself, taking myself away from the ordinary, it really builds that gratitude for what I do have and helps me focus my thoughts. So, taking that time to reflect is not about, rumination or toxic positivity, okay? It's really about getting clarity on your purpose and asking God to help you be honest with yourself about what truly matters personally and professionally, and really just recognizing the gifts that He has given you, whether they are people in your life, whether it's the role you are in right now, whether that be a career or retirement or motherhood or being a grandmother, whatever it is. And what are the gifts, I've really been trying to focus lately on my children being a gift to me. Now, as a Catholic, I know that, but it's so easy sometimes to get caught, forget that, when you may be struggling, or, that one child, that knows how to push all the buttons. And I'm laughing because I have that one child. So that's a monthly one. So just taking a few hours, okay? And, this is going to be something that requires, communication, with my husband, I'm always like, hey, I'm going to step out, for this amount of time, whether it's Saturday or some other, weeknight or something, and just take that time. So I'm not necessarily asking permission, okay, but we do have 3 children and a lot going on, so we do need to communicate. So just schedule the time so it actually happens, and realize, once you start getting into this habit, you're going to realize how important it is, and probably start wondering how you were even surviving without it. So the last way you can take time for yourself is going on a retreat. And I've talked about this a lot lately on the podcast because, of course, I am hosting a destination retreat in October. But I want to talk about, how taking that time, whether it's annually or, a couple times a year, it's just taking time away from work has proven to be one of the most productive things I can do for both my business and my family relationships. Consider this. Anytime you get ready to go away, whether you're going on vacation with your family, you're going for a girls' weekend, whatever it is, what are you doing? You're most likely checking all the essential items off your personal to-do list, right? So when are you more productive than the week before you're taking time off? Really? So, and then when you come back to the work after the break, for me, I definitely have a fresh perspective on any challenges I was facing. And I really have appreciation for serving my clients and even my family. Now, I know some of you are thinking, how can I even do this? How could I leave my family for a weekend or take a week off from work? Okay. And just simply know this: Jesus often took time alone on purpose to pray, even when everyone was asking him for everything. Okay. So consider that your break strengthens you to serve and help others appreciate, everyone else's role in the family or on the team at the office. In my family, I've noticed it helps our boys take on a little extra responsibility and get some extra dad time. It helps me appreciate how hard my husband works for us. And it helps my husband and children recognize what I do and the gifts that I offer on a daily basis. And and of course, it helps me unplug from decision making, So if the thought of, taking this time for you, taking time for silence and to reflect, if that's intimidating, especially if this is not part of your regular routine and you want to start working it in, just start small. It's what I say all the time. It's a step at a time. So you just block off some time on your calendar once a week. And then notice the fruit that comes from that time in silence and reflection, and then you can build from there. Don't go crazy off the bat. But, you could, because my retreat's in October and, that's several months from now. So you have plenty of time to plan. Speaking of, all the details on the retreat, my destination retreat to Sao Miguel, Azores in October 1st to the 8th, are in the show notes. You get the itinerary and all the amazing details there. And of course, if you have questions, feel free to drop me a line. So I hope these, things that I use and I coach my clients to use, I hope you'll try one, if not all, at least start with that weekly inventory, that weekly examine, if you will, and then move on up to the bigger chunks of time monthly and, of course, annually, and see what comes from that. We all need to recharge, and it's not always about, skincare and wine. And I'm not knocking those things because those are great. But, we have to go deeper as well. All right, so let us return to Matthew chapter 7 in these verses 7 through 11. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Which one of you would hand his son a stone when he asks for a loaf of bread, or a snake when he asks for a fish? If you then, who are wicked, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father give good things to those who ask him? So, my friends, if you're not even making time to listen to him, how much can you ask of him? Consider that. All right, let's get growing and keep blooming. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Keep Blooming. Tune in every Wednesday for a dose of hope and encouragement. You can find this podcast on Anchor, Spotify, and Google and Apple Podcasts. To be the first to know about my upcoming retreats and latest offerings, be sure to hop onto my email list. Have a wonderful week and remember to keep blooming.